I heard you guys like interesting gameplay. So I don't know why we're watching this. We've got a Roost mirror. Wow, I have not said that in a very, very long time. But you know what? It's always a pleasure to say these two players' names. Louis MT going up against Recon. Glad the Trash Pan is back, man. It's going to be an interesting matchup as well, because Recon, has been on, I want to say, a journey to trying to be more of an aggressive player. He's going to have to try to resist that temptation to play a more greedy game, because the player on the other side loves late game. Louis MT, definitely no stranger to it, but also knows how to end a game fast. Looks like we are going to be on Lipany, so I guess that kind of works even better. I mean, the reason I kind of like Lipany for Roost, right, is that the way that the deers, the boars spawn, you tend to see a little bit more forward play sometimes. And in fairness, this isn't a terrible map spawn either. Some of them tend to be overly defensive, and this one, to its credit, fairly open. I actually feel like this is almost what you want Lipany to look like. I'd actually argue this is kind of what I prefer Dry Arabia to look like, right, as a baseline. Maybe -1 wood, because I genuinely think there's way too much wood in most AoE4 maps. You being back cured by depression, but Roost Mirror is bringing it right back. Look at the plus side. Roost is going to lose. Isn't that... we've all had that experience. We all know that guy on the ladder. That person that we do not like, who they only pick Roost, they only play Roost. Maybe for some reason they try to beat you with Horse Archers as well. But what we'll know is by the end of this, that one of these players who picked Roost will have suffered. Kremlin's drops on the way. So, more or less the same on tech timings. A little bit better for Louis, but the difference there is that Recon did walk pretty far out here with the 5 villages. In fact, the 5th one is only now on the way. Pretty greedy drop here, but he knows he can get away with it initially. He wants the gathering rate, which is pretty smart. Louis is going to have a more optimal timing for, I'd say, a second TC. Like, I think the issue I take with what Recon's done here is if this is 2TC, 2TC, it's a lot better for Louis. In fact, other thing that's already better, as is being highlighted by the chat, is the wheelbarrow situation. Louis dunked on his opponent when it comes to the scouting game. They both went 3 scouts, but you can tell the difference just by looking at the gold, right? Like, there is a huge, whopping 170 gold difference here between the two players. Yeah, I still am kind of perplexed by Recon's choice to drop the Kremlin here. I mean, he had the stone at home. I guess the thought process is you want to drop it towards where you're going to gather for the TC, and this gets you the TC, right? Like, whereas on the other side, Louis, he may have a more optimal time with his tech up. He may be using his stone at home, but he has to go pretty far out for the food drop. When he does, however, he is going to just have a superior spawn. This is a classic example of why I think we've kind of moved away from mirrors in tournaments, because it's kind of cringe how map spawn can define it so much. The difference is day and night, right? You've got this absurd double deer stack. Meanwhile, Recon has split. He could potentially go for a TC drop here and yank the boar in, which might make it a little bit better. But even from that perspective, another kind of crazy thing is look how close the boar is to Louis' base. If Louis was to pull the boar back here, he'd basically be in range of the Kremlin to gather. That's insane. If he walls off here, the boar isn't easily gankable because he can easily just kind of like, TC drop the center here, right here. There's just a lot of things that I prefer about the spawn, and I don't blame Recon for taking this very weird approach with his own. The question mark is where we're going to see a TC boom or a Castle's race. I think there's an opportunity for Recon to raid. I'd actually prefer Recon goes all in here, because I think considering Louis is likely to drop a TC on either the boar or the deer, you can attack that quite easily. Especially if you build your base near where you're TC dropping here. Right, like that's another merit point, is if you're dropping the TC here and you build the archer ranges stables here, you're pretty quick across to the boar. Alternatively, if you see your opponent goes to the north side of the deer, you build it at home and you're fairly efficient on reaching it as well. I'm not saying you won't have to build a hunting cabin. You're always going to have to build a hunting cabin for this boar. The point is that in terms of defense, if you pull the boar back to here and kill it, you then can always rally towards the Kremlin to defend yourself, right? Like, you actually have protection. And Louis seems to agree. So, TC drop on the stone. This is... Wait, is this free TC? Can I just highlight that I watched way too much Age of Empires 4? You know, believe it or not, guys, I hear me and Louis are long-lost twins. That's why we think so similarly. So there you go. Hunt and Cam gets dropped. And this is really smart because now if Recon comes raiding in, look at the vision. He gets seen long beforehand, which means that Louis can always just pull back in time into the Kremlin and damage any knights trying to raid him. Really smart read there. And this seems to be more just about protecting the wood. So we aren't going to get any weird free TC plays. I'm kind of glad of that. I don't think free TC works well here. We used to see a lot of free TC Rus, and it genuinely was just bad. Free TC Rus versus 2TC Rus, 2TC always won because you go fast castle. And then you win relics, right? Like, you're talking about a matchup where the relics will definitely matter. Like, mirrors, every small detail matters. So relics definitely makes a mile of difference. And Louis has more bounty. We figured he had about an extra 150. It's not a small amount. It's huge. Like, the difference when they were teching up was that Louis had Wheelbarrow, Recon didn't, and Louis still had, like, an extra, I think it's 20 gold. Now, I wish there was a way for us to show that without spoiling the results, but that would involve either A, Capture Age working on AoE4, or B, me having a second PC that's good enough to do that. Well, my third PC is barely good enough. Yay. So, ball play coming in from Recon as well. Walls going up like crazy from Louis. This is because he's worried about Recon trying to all-in him. This is definitely fast castle. They're both worried about the exact same thing. Oh my god, guys. This is going to be an hour-long game. Oh, I warned it would happen. I just want to remind everyone that I literally have DMs from Recon with him talking about how he's a more aggressive player now and how he thinks Dark Age and Feudal Age is everything and blah, blah, blah. And then I remember the time, like, my response like, yeah, right. He's like, no, really, dude. Like, really, I really think it's about that early in that mid game. And I'm like, yeah, I think it's about that. I don't think you do, though. He's like, no, dude, definitely. You watch me. I'm a Dark Age spin rush every person. Look at him now. Back on the stone as well. No, there's no way you go free TC here, right? I mean, if this is turning into a full macro game, yes, you do. Other side of it, Louis is going to be beating him to cast late, though. This will be our last casted game for today. You know, I was like, bored. Do I just go off now? Look, I want to really look at the positive sides of things, folks. You need to remember something very important here. At least it's not high view. It could always be worse. So high trade house now on the way. Louis, it's just going to be a standard one. Nothing. Well, there was an absurd one. If you want to go out here on this map, this would have been an absolute jackpot. Like a broken one. But he didn't. I think Recon can get a better one, though. He's got the 2 close by tree lines. If he just drops a high trade house here, he should be hitting the bank. Your brain's not braining right now? I mean, you don't really need to brain. It's a Rus mirror. You know what we do in mirrors, guys? We literally just look at the top stats, and we see whoever's got better, and we say, well, that's it, GG. So, like, you know, for example, Recon right now has 1 extra military unit, 1 extra eco. He's winning the game. We won't talk about the fact that that's a scout, but double stables drop now coming in from Louis. Immediately queues up the knights. Now I'm curious, is it going to be the same from Recon, or are we going to try to add in horse archers here? So free TC, high trade house. I mean, he's going to have to build spears, crossbows. There's no doubt in my mind. If he tries to build knights, he loses the game. Like, you're spending way too much food on villager production now compared to your opponent. This also means you're giving over relics, by the way. He's only walled in 1. I don't see how you easily contest the others unless you go spears. What worries me is the fact that Recon isn't actually building any production buildings yet. He's got the stables and that's it, right? I think we've got full wall ups now as well. Louis completing the final little slab. And Louis, is this a double monastery pump? I know this kid way too well. He does double monastery pump more than anyone in the entire game. Some people try to highlight Beastie. I'm like, no, dude. Beastie does it half as often as Louis does. This guy right now is in a a focus mine, a fast castle, double monastery. Like, I have not seen someone do it this frequently in over 2 years. Smart choice though, right? Like Recon. This I'm not a fan of. The stables and the archery range follow up, like crossbows, sure, but it has to be Spearman. I don't think you can play knights now. 5 minutes from now, 10 minutes from now, sure, I can see it. But like now, when you've chosen to invest 750 resources into TC, when you've chosen now to invest an extra 150 of your food income per minute into villager production, it's just not sustainable. Louis, because he already knows, right? He already wants to play mobility here. He's going to Horseman in a game where Recon has failed to get the Raxes, and looks like he never will be. It's going to be triple archery range. What an odd approach by Recon. To understand that like crossbows are important, but not understanding this type of matchup that Spearman can matter a lot as well. I mean, he's got a scout back here as well. That's the most perplexing part to me, is that he should know what's coming. He should have some inkling. So Recon's probably thinking this game was going to be more of like a true mirror of production, where it's like, oh, I pump one stables knights, you pump one stables knights, is what you'd think. But the fact that he added crossbows in the first place already tells you that he understands he's going to be up against heavily armored units. And if we're being totally real, the heavily armored unit you'd be up against would always be spears anyway. Would always be, sorry, knights anyway, right? So like spears just make so much sense to me. It's kind of wild that he's not seeing it. Recon's like, all right, I hear you. Spear's now on the way. So this is good. This alleviates my biggest concern. So now like Recon actually has a comp that can win. He's got more crossbow production. He's got better eco in the coming minutes. And his comp is more cost efficient, right? He's spending less per spearman compared to per horseman. Ergo, he has more inflated eco afterwards to put into things like more crossbows. So Louis needs to sense this, and he needs to consider going for some siege. Now, the big question mark is whether Louis actually saw that TC go down. He had knights in the backside, but I don't think he ever had a scout out here. So it's possible Louis doesn't actually realize that it's a free TC play. Especially with how hard it is to now break in. So he's trying to torch through the walls at least. Louis. One interesting thing is we shouldn't see a farm transition too quickly. These maps have a lot of berries, and although they may be inferior to farms, it's just allowing you to focus on getting your military count up higher, right? How many vills are 4 relics? So 4 relics equates to about, if you want to be generous, 8 villages, because they generate 80 gold each, right? And a villager, by default, will gather between 40 to 45 resources, depends on the resource, of course, without any eco upgrades. So really, like, at this point in the game, considering the eco upgrades, Louis' villagers are gathering closer to, like, 50 per minute. But I always try to be generous and say a relic's worth 2 villagers. So 4 relics, plus the sacred sites as well, he's ahead on economy. Because remember, the sacred sites are worth quite a bit more, actually. Oh wait, no, why does it not show in there? Here. 3 sacred sites, 300 gold, right? 100 gold each. So right now, like, is it 620? So if you put, like, an equated value on that, you're probably looking at, I'll say, like, 14, 15 villages. So Louis is ahead. Oh, looks like Recon is finally going to play for that 1 relic. One thing that worries me, actually, is these warrior monks are pretty respectable. 190 HP, not crazy base damage, but what really matters is that buff. Saint's Blessing is something that Recon just doesn't have in these fights that can make these crossbows better if you have the same count. Right now, biggest concern I have is Louis continues to scale towards Horsemen. You can tell what he's really focusing on here. This is classic Louis. He doesn't want to fight the army, he wants to fight the economy. Makes a lot of sense, but something that always makes it harder to do that in this matchup is the fortified palisade walls. Against normally palisade walls, Louis would have broken through 2 different locations by now and been hitting eco. Against Rus, though, with this 2500 HP structure, it's not very feasible. I do love the fact that Recon built walls around the stone outcropping, by the way. Not really necessary, but bless him. Got it all covered. Remember, those sacred sites are locked in, by the way. There's a really big issue approaching for Recon. The good news is Louis has not castle dropped the sacred sites because no resources spawn near them. Only up here where the wall was in the way, right? So it looks like Recon will get the decap there, but I have a feeling we are quickly heading towards Imperial Age, and it should just quite simply be high armory. Interesting thing about mirrors, if you ever have to go to the defensive landmark, you're basically losing the game. Because you're losing unique tech advantage. And oh my god, Recon's losing this fight big time. Horseman, get on top of the crossbow mass. Saint's Blessing coming in big here as well. And Recon taking a terrible engagement here. Wow, and the push continues. Louis has the full bulk force in one location. Looks like the Horsemen are finally going to start to get reduced in count. But considering Recon's military count, right, like the fact he's losing fights like that in the first place does not bode well. Louis will reinvest some of that resource saved up for an Imp Age into Horseman, but you can see he's just a small sliver away from what he needs now. Recon, his number's definitely deceptive. The reason he's got so many, it was a militia pool. Castle drop should actually reset Recon. I wonder, does he sense what's coming? I don't think so. He went for Military Academy. Whenever I see Military Academy at this time of juncture, it suggests someone's trying to go all in on the castle timing. So this is going to take him by surprise. He needs to do something fast. The issue, though, is most of his army are fake. He doesn't have any real torch power here to get through a wall. How did we do on the high trade houses in, by the way? 143, 160 on the other side, so pretty close. A little bit better for Recon. Militia are real? Where are they right now? Oh, they must have gone back to work. When you think about it, Akratoy is like real militia. You know the Byzantine skill that gives defense and damage to villages? Anyway, Louis now on the way with the high armory. So why is this why is defensive landmark such a GG throw in these matchups? I mentioned it kind of briefly. These unique techs, especially this one, is huge, right? Like Recon, if he went high armory and Louis didn't, Louis wouldn't be able to play Siege. And do you want to know how you beat late game Rus? Siege. Right? Streltsy get annihilated by Mangoes. Horsemen should be good at dealing with the Mangoes, but if your opponent's just building Streltsy to defend that, funnily enough, you'd think Horsemen would beat Streltsy. They really don't. And then you add in the fact that you get access to the Siege to kind of blitz through these static defenses, right? It's kind of a no-brainer. Similar with the English matchup, where if you go Berkshire instead of Wingard, you better be dropping that Berkshire in the enemy base, otherwise you're losing the game long term. It's crazy just how much of a difference it makes. Army slash on the south side. Recon kind of in a pickle here, right? Like he's trying to play in a Siege, and I hate this. This is a very quick way of losing a game. You should understand your opponent has gone Imperial Age. There's no way you will be able to dictate Siege. So unless the idea from Recon is he's going to prep these and then tech up, I'm not a fan unless that's the case. Like he basically has to do this as a preemptive and then tech behind. If he tries to attack with this comp right now, I feel like he's setting himself up to lose the game quickly. Another thing to keep in mind in this game, folks, that eco lead that Recon's worked very hard to build, you're starting to reach the apex of it, right? 104 eco to 120. Once you're capped out on that, that's when the relics really do make the difference here. And by the way, another kind of whoopsie detail, Recon, I think he finally realized that this entire time, he never picked up that one relic. Train dogs from the TFC would be cool in AoE4. Like when I heard the trained dogs, I was like, you think the Stormgate? I was like, wait, no, Stormgate is out of the racks. Streltsy Master's building. I think this is my biggest concern. And this is probably why Recon did go for the Mangoes and Springles, by the way. He understands if he's teching second, he's not going to have Streltsy. And he's going to be up against quite a lot of Streltsy. So the Mangoes are to wipe that, right? So that's basically his kind of reset card. It's the only way you can kind of mirror this timing in a weird way. Bandit Arms are on the way, though, so Louis already prepping the Springles could easily get him a win. Horseman upgrades already coming in. We should have a Uni being dropped soon for Biology. In fact, it already has been dropped. Shutter triggers are also queued up. Farm count is getting pretty big, by the way. Looks like Recon is up to 25. Only 14 on the other side for Louis. High Armory now on the way. Gold. Oh my god, that's huge. Okay, Recon needs to win a fight in the next 5 minutes, max. Look at the gold situation. 1.6k, 700 left over, and then he's got the 4k here, and then he's out. Right, in a game where he only has one relic under his control. Louis has taken control of the 2 8ks. This is huge in a mirror like this. Louis should be getting ready for a main assault soon. I wouldn't be surprised if we just see a bombard added in. I mean, notice he doesn't even want to go for the mangoes. It doesn't matter to him. Biology has also been queued up, so tech up complete. Recon has got a decent amount of gold in reserve, but basically he cannot play premium units now. He can play a little bit of Siege because they usually don't die straight away, but you're not going to see any Streltsy mass from him. You're not going to see any Knights. He simply does not have the gold for it. Might even struggle to get the gold for Unitex, to be honest with you. Army on the march. Louis once again getting those sacred sites. Man, this is the thing. This is such a big difference between these two players. Louis has done such a better job at playing the flanks. Recon just hasn't really been present there whatsoever. And you can see how it cost him, right? Like a map like this, the 8k golds are everything in this matchup. I think that's the biggest blunder by Recon. You know, other details aside, it's the fact that he's allowed these gold veins to be secured for free by Louis. Braver on the central walls. Horseman riding out like it's Rohirrim time. And Biology's coming, by the way. We're only 15 seconds out. Spearman count is low, by the way. There's nothing to actually defend this. Militia are going to push in. It's going to force a stand ground. Spawn is also moving up. And the Horseman ready to ride on in. Oh, not like this. Recon, only 7 Spearmen to his name. Mangoes are going to try to go for a wallop on the Streltsy, but it's simply not good enough. And with an army wipe like that, this might simply be GG. Yeah, this is actually over. It's out of his hands now. He doesn't have the gold to try and get back into this at all. He's stuck spamming Spearmen into Streltsy. He lost all the siege on the backside, and now he has 4,000 to try and contest up against way too many thousands in gold. So we'll call it there. Louis MT showing you just how to play this matchup as the game goes on. You know, if you think the game is going to turn to a macro game, don't get baited by this idea of you just need more TCs. The difference here that put Louis a mile ahead is instead of thinking, oh, we're playing late game, I need 3 TC, 4 TC. He thought about the permanence of the map. Relics, a limited resource to take away that your opponent wants as well. Gold, a truly limited resource that will run out, something that he focused on, which made this victory look so simple.